I will call the Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Today is January 21st, 5:01 p.m. And I'm Rob Watton, the Chair of Public Safety. And as part of our roll call, we have Councilmember Cotton present in the council chambers, as well as Councilmember Christensen online. We have very special guests this evening in the council chambers. So I do want to make sure that we note that Councilmember Benson has graced us with his presence. Chiefs Lynch and Bailey and Captain Horace are here, and then as well as our city attorney, Dina Burke, Dina Dean, city clerk, Mayor Ross, and Mr. Chambliss, our city administrator. We also have in the room Councilmember Christensen. We have three distinguished guests from the city of North Bend. We have Mayor Miller here. We have Council Member Mark Joslin, who has two hats. He wears both the city and Skyview Metro Parks. So welcome. And a returning longtime favorite of Snoqualmie, Bob Larson. So thank you all for being here. With that, I'm going to ask our two council members on the committee approval of the agenda. Are there any objections or changes to the agenda as presented? No. Hearing none, we will accept the agenda as approved. Normally, we move on to the next thing, and that would be our public comments on things that are not on tonight's agenda. Now, I believe our guests are here to speak on something on the agenda, and we will give you that opportunity just in a moment. But Councilmember Benson, you're here as part of being a citizen as well as a council member in observation. Is there anything that you'd like to comment on?
If I could.
Please come up to the mic. We'll give you 3 minutes.
I'll try not to take up that much time. Ethan Benson, Snoqualmie. The rules for us to have private conversations, I don't want to take any chance of violating those. So I thought I'd just say really quickly a couple of things that I'm concerned about with public safety, just based on things that are going on in the world right now. The incident in Bourbon Street, where the truck came down Bourbon Street and you know, that terrorist attack really bothered me, as I'm sure it bothered you guys as well. And I thought about our King Street closure, and I thought about how it should be on our mind to harden that target if we're ever using that King Street closure to attract foot traffic in the street. So I just wanted to put that out there as something that we should consider doing. One of the things that was presented on the news during the Bourbon Street attack was that they had equipment that would have hardened that target much better than it was. And I think that we should talk about what we can do to make that as safe as possible. And then, you know, the wildfires, I would love to get a good idea of our wildland, you know, fire safety, what we're doing to make our wildlands less susceptible to wildfires. Those are the things that I was concerned about. Thank you.
Thank you. Normally, we don't follow up with comments back from the committee. However, I will commend this council for our last budget and including the brush truck as one of the pieces that is in our CIP, with 20 miles of trail in between very closely built homes. And that means 25 to 30 years of underbrush and things. This kind of just brings to light what's happened down there, and you know, it's prudent for us to go ahead and put that in the budget. And you know, we may never think that we'll use that or have that piece of equipment, but for $100,000 and what it could potentially save in property loss is immense. So, you know, I think that's a very valid point. And the other thing too is good too, because making sure that our community stays safe, and it seems like these community gathering things that are happening are becoming more and more a target. And, you know, we have great street fairs and those sorts of things. Is what can we do to make sure that we have all the necessary precautions? And sometimes, you know, it seems like an overdone, you know, you're overdoing it, but you know, that's part of our job, is to anticipate and keep us safe. Councilmember Cotton.
Especially next year with FIFA coming to the Pacific Northwest and Washington State.
Right.
We are going to have a lot of international travelers visiting, including our area. So
There are going to be a lot of travelers. In fact, that starts this year. There's going to be a few games. So
Yeah.
good thing to keep in mind. Well, with that, I don't want to spend a lot of time, but let's move on to minutes. And I will deem this public comment period closed as we move on. With that, we have the minutes to approve from our last meeting. And Councilmember Christensen, Councilmember Cotton, do you have any changes, adaptations, or different perspectives on the agenda, on the minutes? Hearing none, we will accept the minutes dated January 6, 2025, approved as presented. And next, we move on to Agenda Bill AB 25-002, amendment to the can you bring that all the way up so I can see it? Thank you. Amendment to the 2019 North Bend Interlocal Agreement for Police Services. The introduction is North Bend has proposed to increase the level of compensation for the first quarter of 2025 by 12.9%, while both cities continue to work on a new interlocal agreement. And with that, I'm going to call on City Administrator Chambliss to introduce this.
Thank you, Chair. So as we discussed last month, and as we've been discussing for several months, we are currently renegotiating the ILA between the cities of North Bend and Snoqualmie for police services. We have made great strides in the last 2 months to achieving a resolution to that. And so in that spirit, we are looking to not necessarily bridge the entire gap but North Bend has made an offer to this 12.9% change while we wrap up these negotiations. As early as last week, we met with the Mayor Miller and Mr. Larson, and we kind of developed a work plan over the next few months to achieve the goal. I do believe North Bend is meeting on this tonight to cross some Ts and dot some Is. And then we'll have the final edition before council on Monday night for your consideration as a full body. As a result, this may change a little bit between tonight and then, just so you're aware of that. But it's our recommendation that we go ahead and execute this instrument next Monday night and wrap up our negotiations successfully for all of us and get on with policing both communities.
Okay, thank you. Well, I want to thank both cities and their diligence in putting this together. These services are so critical to our entire valley between the two cities. And those of us who've had time in the evening, in the wee hours of doing ride-alongs, it's very apparent how important having one combined police force is for the safety of our community. I'll tell you, after doing that, I think twice about going out after 11 o'clock because things get kind of squirrely, and it's like, so I would encourage all the council members to schedule a time to do a ride along And I would like to do another one just to kind of get a lay of the land and be able to offer that up as well to the city of North Bend's council as well. I think it's very enlightening when you see the work our force does and how safe they keep us because of that. Typically, we open this up to public comment since there's three of you from the city of North Bend, and we limit it to 3 minutes. Unless there's an objection from Councilmember Christensen or Cotton, I'd like to give North Bend the floor and know that, we do have kind of a time cutoff at 5:45, but please, please, I'll invite you to the podium. And if you'd like to care to make some remarks. Mayor Miller and Council Member Joslin.
Mark Joslin, 425 Southeast Fifth Street, North Bend. I'm here tonight as Mayor Pro Tem of the City Council. And simply just want to acknowledge all the hard work. I was very pleased, Councilmember Watton, to hear you reference that. Right, I cannot speak for the council. Of course, I'm here with my own voice, but it is recognized the benefits of having one force policing both communities for so many reasons, and that's ultimately where we're anxious to have this end up. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Councilmember Joslin. Anything else? Mayor Miller, please, if you would.
Mary Miller, let's see, 151 West 6th Street, North Bend, beautiful town of North Bend. It's wonderful to be here tonight for a couple of reasons. First of all, I love to see you face to face. It's a very natural component of getting along with people and making relationships work better is when you actually step up and you meet the people that you want to have a relationship with, a positive one. And that's the case with me and the gentleman that came with me tonight. We are a united front to get through this process, if you will. I can't speak on behalf of council, but I will speak from my heart that we stand by our police services. We need great executed police services as well. I feel like I have a great relationship with our police force as it stands and will continue to do so. And above all, we have to look after our citizens. That's the number one priority, is taking care of everybody who lives here and comes and visits us. And so I stand before you to come back again in the future. I want this relationship to be a strong and positive one, like I mentioned before, but it takes effort, and I'm certainly the woman who's going to be taking effort. And these gentlemen are also fine human beings, so I hope you get to know them more as time goes on. I know Bob has got a great, strong relationship with the city of Snoqualmie for years, and it's a pleasure to work alongside him. So I take full advantage of you, Bob, while you're here with us. Thank you so much. I wish you could stay longer, but I'm pretty sure we're going to see you go on with a vibrant future into your retirement when you choose that to be the case. But for now, thank you so much for taking our time tonight, and we will stand united and get through this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Mayor. Okay, we're good. All right. I'm going to ask, Police Chief, do you have any comments that you want to add at this time? Excellent. Good evening, sir.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak for just a second. I just want to say thank you guys for a second time coming here. It means a lot, and it means a lot to the officers to hear that from you and to see movement in the right direction. So thank you so much for all three of you for being here. I see nothing but good in the future. So we'll just keep doing the hard work and we'll get there. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Is there anything further from the administration? Mr. Chambliss.
I did neglect to mention that as part of our work plan, we did volunteer you guys for something. So we volunteered the Public Safety Committee to have a joint Public Safety Committee meeting with North Bend when the police chief presents his annual report here in a few weeks. So that is to be continued.
I think that would be greatly appreciated. There's another point to this relationship too that I want to point out. Susan Torgerson joins me on the Regional Law, Safety, and Justice Committee. We're 2 of 8 representatives of the 38 cities outside of Seattle, and that is so critical. One is we get to learn what best practices are elsewhere, but 2, we get to advocate for the things that are important to our community, including keeping the King County Jail open, which the county executive twice has called for closure without a way of replacing the 1,200 plus beds. And secondly, we as a committee, and there's no vote that's actually taken during the Regional Law, Safety, and Justice Committee, is more of a sharing of information, have been able to pump the brakes on closing the Juvenile Detention Center, which the voters approved for $242 million. With the alternative would be to put those kids, which sometimes is as high as 42, in neighborhoods, in safe houses. And the voice has been loud and clear that that's the wrong thing to do. That's not the answer. We need to have effect on making people whole. And that's what our system is set up for.
I see Councilmember Christensen has her hand.
Yes, Councilmember Christensen, please.
I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor, city administrator, and Mayor Pro Tem of North Bend for coming tonight. I do appreciate seeing you all in council chambers. I wish that I was there. And I look forward to working with you all for that joint public safety meeting. I think it's a great idea. Also, just personally, I'm always happy to meet for coffee or a walk, with the exception of right now while I'm sick. But always happy to chat.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Councilmember Christensen, former chair of the Public Safety. So she has a big stake in what we do here. Well, with that, is there any action that we need to take tonight? We're going to defer it on to North Bend. You're going to be taking up the final step that you need to take. And then we'll be back at council next week and we will have that on the agenda. Is that correct? Correct. Okay. All right. Mayor, please.
So I think it's already been said, but I just want to thank you for being here tonight and providing public comment. This is a very important agreement for both cities, and I think we will get there. Because our police services, you have the no call too small, and that's very important for our residents. So thank you for being here. I would look forward to hearing about the outcome tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much. And one who's a kind of a consumer of police services in North Bend as well as Snoqualmie. I remember the time when the contract was with King County, and Mark Toner, who was the then chief, did a remarkable job. But our ability to have even more presence has been incredibly important. So thank you for continuing this partnership. With that, thank you. If you want to hang out, you're welcome to, but we'll give you this opportunity to slide out so that you can spend a little bit of time on your own. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good night. All right. Well, the moment we've all been waiting for, and that's the e-bike discussion. So as Chief Lynch makes his way to the podium, we did meet last week briefly, City Attorney Burke, Chief Lynch and myself, and we went through some scenarios just to kind of vet things so that we can have a little bit more robust discussion tonight.
And don't let him fool you. It was not briefly, it was about an hour and 40 minutes.
But he was counting.
All right, so I wanted to give just a quick overview. We all know that this is a problem here because the comments on social media, the face-to-face encounters that we have with our constituents and our community members, the growing presence of these they look like motorcycles, but they're run by electricity, and sometimes they can reach some very high speeds. We've had some incidents over the last year that I wanted just to give a quick overview of what we spoke about earlier in front of this committee. The RCW lists out what an electric assisted bicycle is. There's 3 different categories, and you must have a power output of no more than 750 watts. Go to the next one for me. There's
motion.
Yeah, yeah, look at that. That was a YouTube video that I had to figure out how to do that. So those are the 3 categories. For the most part, what we're seeing and the complaints and the issues that we're having are not category 1, 2, or 3. So category 1, you can go to the next one. These are ones that do not have a throttle assist. You have to actually pedal and can reach up with the electric assist to about 20 miles per hour. These are expensive bikes. We do see them in town, but they're kind of not our issue. We haven't had the problems with these bikes. The class 2 actually has a throttle assist, and they can also reach up to 20 miles an hour. Okay. But it doesn't require the rider to pedal in order to accelerate. The class 3s are concerning because of the speed limit that they can hit. They can hit up to 28 miles per hour. This is your 750 watt electric assisted bike. That's the limit that the law says that we can call it an electric bicycle. It's a class 3. Next one. Okay, here's the reason why we're here. So these electric dirt bikes, they can go up to 6,000 watts. You're going to be reaching speeds of about 50 miles per hour at 6,000 watts. And parents are giving these to 12 and 13 and 15-year-old who do not have any driver training. They've not had a driver's license yet. And they're sending them out on the ridge, and we're having incidents where they're riding on the sidewalk, they're hopping off the sidewalk in front of cars, knocking people over, riding up and down at high rates of speed on the parkway path, and through the neighborhoods in the ridge area. These things cannot be legal anywhere unless you take them to a Department of Licensing facility and you prove that this thing can be street legal, which means you'd have to have a headlight, tail light, you would have to have mirrors, you'd have to have it licensed, which then would require the person riding it to have a driver's license. So what I found was the RCWs really don't talk about this particular problem. And that's kind of a loophole in the RCWs. Go to the next one.
As we do that, Councilmember Christensen, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chief, just as an additional point of clarification, if they were to make these bikes street legal, they would also have to have legal insurance for them as well, correct? Which we can probably assume that's not what's happening right now.
No, and it's actually, it's going to come to a surprise to you, but in the state of Washington, motorcycles are not required to have insurance.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I know it's a shock. It doesn't make any sense. But the big thing is they would have to have a driver's license, which they don't. They're not old enough to. We're not seeing adults on these. So I hope that has shocked you enough and answered your question.
Yeah, thank you, Chief.
So we were looking through Snoqualmie Municipal Code and found 1035, and this one was passed in 2006. So it talks about wheeled recreational devices. And much like RCW or Municipal Code, you can read it 78 times. And on the 78th time, you come up with a question. And I was sitting here prior to coming up here and just going over it once again. And now I have a question about what I read. This says that a wheeled recreational device means any wheeled recreational object designed to propel a person using the object, which includes but is not limited to bicycles, skateboards, skates, and it's powered by gravity, hand, foot, pedal power, internal combustion, or electric motor, whether it be stood on, sat up, and it goes on there. I'm not going to read word for word. The question that I had on this came up when I read it's recreational vehicles that don't require it to be licensed. So I'm going to have to defer to a little bit further study by our legal to make sure we're on the same page still. I think we are by looking at this ordinance. The ordinance says that any person violating the rules of this this ordinance are they could receive a civil infraction, which is a ticket. Problem is, we don't give tickets to 12 and 13-year-olds. If they're under 16, they don't have a driver's license number. There's no way to actually send juveniles to a traffic court at that age. So that's probably going to have to be looked at and reworked. In lieu of this penalty, the officers are able to impound the wheeled recreational device. If they decide not to impound it, they cannot release it to anyone other than the guardian of the person that was operating it. And there's a $50 fee for costs of impoundment and administrative processing. Well, in 2006, $50 was $50. It's not $50 anymore. So we've looked into how much it would cost if we were to start enforcing as written, and we just change a few things to update this code. Every time that we call the tow truck, we spoke to, which one did we talk to? To Todd's Towing, which is on our rotation. It's $378, the bill that we get. Okay, that's if we're impounding it to anywhere other than the Todd's Tow Yard. Okay, so if we are stopped on a traffic stop and we take a car, that bill goes to the owner of the car or the person that was operating the car, because they're going to take the car and they're going to hold it. Todd's will not hold these scooters. They will not hold e-bikes, which means that we have to hold it. And so we've been working on ideas on where to hold them if we were to, your house doesn't count. So, where to hold these, and if we were to go with impounding them. And we've come up with some ideas, maybe adding another Connex box at the police department. We're kicked around the idea of storing them down at City Hall. But I feel like if we take somebody's property, we are now in charge of that property. If it gets stolen, if it gets damaged, we're liable. Some of these things go up to between $3,000 and $5,000 to purchase. I don't want to get into the habit of damaging them and then having to pay to have them fixed or to buy brand new ones. So as you read through here, kind of outdated. It's kind of not logical, because the officers are not going to be able to do this every time. I did go back at the request of Councilmember Christensen and look through the 2024 complaints about e-bikes and scooters. We had 25 calls for service for 2024. There are numerous ones that we see on social media that we will attempt to track down that are never called in. There's one that has been on social media since probably since September that we were seeing, and it keeps being brought back up every time somebody posts on the Ridge Facebook page. They reference a time when their husband was hit by one of these bikes and knocked down and injured and had to go to the emergency room. And we have done our best to try to find where we got called to that. We were not called to that. The fire department wasn't called to that. And they weren't interested when we contacted them to make a report. However, I do believe it happened. I think that it has happened more than we know, more than that it's being reported. So I think that this gives us a rough start. This is a total work in progress and a discussion that I want you guys to be involved in. But it gives us a rough start of some things that we need to update in this. and maybe come up with brand new language to fit 2025. I think we can go to the next one. I think that was,
Pardon me, Chief Lynch.
yes, sir.
What's the maximum we could fine a parent? The $50 is in code. Is there
Yeah, there's,
parameters?
it's actually it's not a ticket. If we were to enforce as written, it's a misdemeanor. So the parents would actually be fined through a court and would have to appear in front of a criminal court, which is problematic, to a point. It does have language in it already written that a written warning and then a second offense is evidence that they knew about it and that they can be charged with this misdemeanor. I don't want to get into the habit of charging crimes for this. I think we need to have something that we land on that is a little bit more forgiving but gets the point across a little better than what we've been doing.
Councilmember Cott.
Is it required, and sorry, I haven't read through everything here in
Sure.
detail. Is it required that the operators of one of these, whether it's the scooter, the bike, or the dirt bike version, have to wear helmets?
It is.
Okay.
You have a city ordinance that says that if you're on a bike of any form, that you have to wear a helmet in the city.
And if they don't, is that something that you
That
do
can
any kind
be,
of citation or again, confiscate the vehicle?
if it's one of these and we're operating under this, it says that we can impound it. We have not been. The logistics haven't been set up yet for this. But the rider is subject to a traffic ticket. However, like I told you before, we're
And
seeing.
if they're underage?
Yeah, they're under 16. There's really no way of bringing a juvenile under 16 to a traffic court.
Bring them to public safety and we'll have words with them.
So I think we're at the point where, I think the other slide was just, what do we do now? I'd like to have a discussion about, there's the responsibility of the parent or guardian. And it's what I had mentioned. It's illegal for them to let somebody ride these, in public. There's really nowhere that vehicle is able to ride in the city limits of Snoqualmie legally.
I'm gonna allow Councilmember Christensen to chime in here.
Thanks. Yeah, I was just, as we go forward and look at this, one of the things that I'd also like the administration to look at, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on as well, Chief Lynch, is just in terms of consequences, whether it would make sense to add some kind of a requirement that the parent and guardian commit to some public service around the city. I am a little bit hesitant in terms of moving forward with something that would criminalize the child, but I do think that maybe some parent child bonding where they are maybe fixing some of the divots that they've left in the community park or other things would be helpful. I would be very supportive of increasing the dollar fine. Excuse me, I'm still not feeling great. But I think that especially in the community that we're in, if the parents are already buying their children expensive toys, even if they're required to pay the full cost of the tow and, having the bike in basically lockup, I think that there's a difference between somebody just willing to cut a check if their kid gets in trouble versus actually having to come down and spend time fixing what they have done. So I'd like to have the city look into that a little bit, see whether that would be a possible option.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we discussed that throughout the week as we've been brainstorming, and I had a thought of creating a traffic school and having the parent and the child come attend a traffic school as part of the learning process or the part of holding them accountable. Those are things that would need to be worked out, those ideas, the logistics of it, who's going to do it, how much is it going to cost us? Because nothing is free, as my boss told me today.
Councilmember Christensen, any further questions or comments?
No, I appreciate the work that's been done, and I look forward to the ongoing conversations to figure out how we can get this addressed. It is deeply concerning. I almost hit one of them and had actually called it in as well, and was very impressed to see the officer responding quickly to folks being really unsafe. And I do consider this to be a big issue. And I don't want to see either the child or another resident in our community get hurt or this
So,
this this behavior.
so Councilmember Christensen and Councilmember Cotton, I deeply appreciate you bringing this forward because it was not on my radar, but apparently you both have had some sort of connection or experience or something that kind of raised the red flag on this, and I appreciate you doing so because that's kind of the role of this committee. Councilmember Cotton, do you have any other further comments or questions?
No, I think, as far as definitely updating our municipal code and bringing fees up to, cover the costs that are being incurred by whatever action is taken, is definitely something that I want to see happen. And of course, it's the safety part of it first.
I also like to echo the sentiments that, we raise the fee, the fine, or however you want to call it. But maybe offset it with the opportunity of them joining something like Green Snoqualmie, and helping out and giving community service hours back, the parent and the child. And maybe it works out to be, 5 hours each, and make the fee go away, sort of thing, option. So more consideration on that, and especially at the advice of the city attorney would be greatly appreciated. When appropriate. It's like, no, I'm not gonna put you on the spot and say.
I think the thing about the community service, I think it's a great idea and it's a really great way to get, people involved in the community. The issues I've seen in the past with community service, would be if a person has any sort of violent history.
Hmm.
So if they've been convicted of something, assault, rape, child molestation, that's a person you're not going to want volunteering, especially if there's other children around. And so a lot of times there has to be some sort of a screening process set up for that. And we can encourage the judge to consider that, but at the end of the day, it's up to the judge whether or not community service is granted. And judges are aware of that, and they look at a person's history to determine whether or not they would actually be eligible for community service.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that context. We just make policy. That's all we make. Hopefully we make the right policy. Anything further, Chief?
Yeah, before we close, I just want, for anybody that will listen to this eventually from the public, I want to make a couple points. First of all, the majority of the kids that we do end up contacting on them, they're very respectful. They are shocked when they find out that they're not illegal, that they're not legal. They do exactly what we tell them, to take it home and don't come back on it. And it's more of an educational relationship that we've had. I just stopped one about a week and a half ago, and this young man was incredible. So asked the right appropriate questions, and it was awesome. To the people who see them and call in and they think that we aren't doing anything, these are very hard situations to find because they are mobile and they're quick. And we've had some of them run from us in both cities. And the majority of the contacts that we're doing are not call driven. By the time we get there, they're gone. And so the majority of the contacts that we have with children on these bikes are on viewed by the officers. When they see them, they'll stop and make contact with them. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Appreciate it. And in our discussion earlier with City Attorney Burke and Chief Lynch, and that's the idea, is if we need to put something in place, we need to do that by April so that we can have that out there for the public to know, and it's good opportunity for us to do more PR, more public awareness of, you know, this to avoid it from being an issue come summertime. Councilmember Cotton.
One last question. Is there any places around the city, let's say, you know, parks or, you know, where, especially in the summertime where the bit more population present, that we have any kind of city signage that says like no motorized, you know, vehicles or anything like that? Or is that something we could consider doing in those populated spots?
Yeah,
or-
we've spoken about that. We actually, right before this meeting, got confirmation from Director Hamlin from Public Works that that's something that we could look into, putting, you know, no motorized bicycles along the parkway. Cause going downhill, I mean, they're flying,
Mhm.
and going uphill, if one of those, you know, things reaches a top of 50, going uphill, it's probably at least 30 coming up behind people that are walking. So we're looking into that, maybe increasing some signage in places that we've seen, especially along Center,
Yeah.
and around the YMCA.
I've noticed that, especially coming on the parkway, if you're walking a dog on a leash, they give you no notice and they're so quiet when they come up that it's really quite startling. And I worry about like if they didn't see the leash and, you know, there could be some additional injuries, like they go flying off of a vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good point. All right, we'll
Okay.
check back with you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you much. With that, we're down to the end of our agenda. New business to come before us. Council members, you have anything? Hearing none? Items for future discussion. Yes, Councilmember Cotton.
I did have a topic I wanted to bring up. The Jen Kirk from Reclaim, the homeless services, has offered council members, and I thought I'd bring it here and we could take it forward, a tour of the facility and you know, some information. Probably it wouldn't be for a couple of weeks because right now with the cold weather, they're sheltering, they've got their emergency shelter open.
Excellent.
So, but that was definitely extended, so I kind of wanted to get a feel if people were interested or administration was interested, or if folks may have been already, but
Yeah.
um,
Would you mind bringing that up at council this Monday night? Councilmember Christensen and I did a impromptu tour just about 2 months ago.
A beautiful facility.
It is, yeah, very much so. All right, anything else? So you'll bring that up Monday night?
Yeah.
At the meeting. All right. With that, if there's nothing further to come before us, we will be adjourned at 5:44 PM without objection. Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.